a month. The first one was titled a workshop, but never was a workshop. It was always a regular business meeting, and then we had a second one was a regular business meeting. If we could do 2 nights a month, with one just the committees and then one just the board meeting, keep the committee meeting a true workshop and such.
Okay.
I think two nights at 2.5 hours is better than 1 5-hour night.
Okay.
And we can start a little later, 6:37 to give a chance for the public to get here.
Okay.
I have Tim's idea because I think some of the committees take a long time for explanation of things, and we don't want to limit that and then hurry up, to get into a board meeting, or 15-minute executive session before we come to a board meeting. Like tonight, we moved it in there to get, to keep to the schedule, and we could do that this evening, but we might not be able to do that every night. There's
Correct.
all kinds of things that come up. So this is aggressive, and I appreciate your thought into it. But I'm thinking more like Tim at this point, going for 2 nights.
This was only to get something on paper because we didn't have 10 different things out there. We needed a starting point, and
right.
so this was the starting point.
Thank you for doing that.
So that's not a problem.
Just my one thought would be that it is aggressive. I agree with Mr. Ryder. It's absolutely aggressive. If we were going to do workshop and a regular meeting on a separate night, the concern I had, we tried that recently, last year. And what happens is the workshop many times became a voting meeting because certain issues came up and we needed to have votes made at a timely fashion. So if that's going to be the case, it's better to call both of them board meetings so that it can function that way if it needs to.
Mr. President, right now we have one regular voting meeting and we have 2 weeks of committee meetings. This would be condensing it from like 3 nights a week, 3 nights a month to 2 nights a month. And if we keep ourselves in check and just keep the workshop meeting a workshop committee meeting, then I think it'll work.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
Because right now we're voting once a month and it seems to be working.
Yeah, I am in favor of having a committee meeting night and then have a voting night.
Okay.
Because we're keeping them separate. The public wants to come to vote, that's fine. If they just want to come to the voting meeting, and they still will have time to express themselves at that meeting, at the board meeting, and that's fine. So they still have a chance to let their opinions be heard by the board member. And in some cases, you won't need a board meeting, not a board meeting, a committee meeting on a given night, so that they won't meet. But they would meet for the board meeting.
Right.
I think that's the best way. Cramming them into both 2 things into one night, we'll be back where we were, last year when we had 6-7 hour meetings.
The only point, going back to what Bob was saying, if you at least advertise you're going to have a board meeting, there's 2 things, because if you find out you have to have a board meeting later, we're going to pay the expense of re-advertising again. So let's throw this out there as we talk, because I think I'm hearing this, and I'm going to try it. We do like a 6:30 to 8:30 or 9 o'clock for a committee meeting, and we can call a committee with a board meeting following it at 8:30 to 9, and set a tight schedule like that. That's it. It's 2.5 hours, 6:30 to 9. That's one night. The next week it's going to be called, it's a business meeting, and we're not going to have any committees before it or anything. And that's going to be to come in here at 6:30 or so, have an executive session till 7, start the board meeting at 7, and hopefully be done around 8.
And then
Is that sounding somewhat along everybody's lines?
and that's telling me that the committees will meet whenever they could get a meeting together.
No.
No?
No, it'll be scheduled, and so in other words, we'd say in that 6:30 to 8:30 time slot, that 2-hour time slot,
Yes.
currently it would be scheduled, now they may not need one, finance, buildings and grounds, education, policy, and athletics. So you're going to have 5 meetings in roughly 2 hours. Now, most likely, you're going to say athletics isn't needed this month. Academics may get an hour. Okay? We may need buildings and grounds and finance. Coming into February, March, it may be all finance for a good portion of it, and maybe the academic one's going to be short, and there will be nothing on policy. But we have to think about some of the issues that have been mentioned and discussed tonight. We seem to have policy issues we discussed already. We know we're going to have budget issues. So the question is, can we accomplish that all in 2 hours? If we make one night a committee night. I think it sounds like we need 2 nights. Now it's only a matter of the structure. Can we agree there? It sounds like we should have 2 nights?
I agree with that.
I
Okay.
think so.
Now it's the structure of the 2 nights.
I think flexibility wise, if you announce 2 board meetings a month and you give yourself that opportunity if you need to. You have a committee night and the opportunity for the board meeting at the end of the conclusion of the committees, if you need it. Therefore, it's already advertised.
But the normal voting one would always be the second one.
one.
Right. So the first one could obviously be canceled. It may only be committees.
Right.
Tim?
I'd like to keep the voting out of the first meeting. And just keep it on the second meeting. That way, there's no confusion, there's no, okay, this first meeting we're gonna vote, next month we're not gonna vote.
Oh, no, you want to be consistent.
Right.
You're talking.
And the way I hear it, you're saying if we don't have anything to vote on, we're not gonna vote that night. And if people may get the misconception, well, they're gonna vote, and they show up and they're disappointed because there is no business for us to vote on.
Okay, so again, back to the first week. So the first week, do we have like a start time? Maybe we can cut it down this way. First week start around 6:30? Does the staff start earlier, 6 o'clock?
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock sound good? And we're going to do committees. Do we go till 8:30 and that's the line? You know, whoever, if we put down the chairs and everything for the committees, I think the important thing is going to be that, just like tonight, we hold to it. And if something carries over to the next meeting, it carries over to the
Schedule
next
half
one.
hour per committee and then adjust as needed.
There are going to be nights when some committees won't even need to say anything. I mean, it just won't happen. I mean, they don't need it.
Yes.
Can I just make a statement though? Some of these committees don't have them, they don't have them now, they have them all over that. So, I mean, many times we've gone over in the past, I'm sure you've been, I've been at these committees. And, academics and ed, there's a lot of new material. Finance, depending on what the issues are, we're in the budget season, many times there are lengthy discussions at committees that take longer than half an hour, without a doubt.
Let me ask a question here, Don. As long as we advertise that it's going to just be committee meetings, right? We don't have to state which committee meetings. From a public point of view, from an advertising point of view, do we have to state which ones are going to go on that night?
I think you might, because the public wouldn't know
Or we have to re-advertise again?
in what way.
Well, if we were just to say it's going to be committee meetings from 6 o'clock to 8:30, then, and we turn around, when we're getting close to that, they say, okay, tonight it has to be all finance. The next time, an hour of it's going to be finance, and then there's going to be buildings and grounds for half an hour, and there's going to be something else for another half hour. We would have to advertise those various pieces.
Or you could, I can check this, but in your initial, if you're doing an initial advertisement like you typically do for a regular meeting, you could put all the committees in that original advertisement.
Okay.
And then if you decide not to have a committee meeting, you don't have to. In other words, put them all in your first advertisement. I think you're safe, technically legal.
Okay, so that way when we get to those dates, they can say, well, if we need to have finance, but we don't have to have education tonight, education's canceled and the finance can take an hour. At the next time, it may be education and policy and the finance would be canceled. And that would be acceptable.
As long as it's advertised in the original advertisement for all the meetings.
Okay, so then if we were to advertise that we're going to be starting at 6 o'clock on, we'll come back to the day, but 6 o'clock for the committee meetings, and we advertise for all the committees, then we should be okay. Now, if I move on to the second meeting, okay?
Are you going to post a 6 to 8:30? Because if I'm looking at my regular board agenda, I have a 6:30 start time, but I really don't have an ending time.
Right.
And I think you're going to run into that with committees. If I would go from 6 to 8:30, I would think the chair people of the committees would obviously like to run things effectively and efficiently, but I also think that not everything is perfect and not everything is going to end at 8:30.
Well, I was letting it open. I wasn't writing 8:30. Just that we would start at 6.
Very good.
Okay with that? So that's the committee meeting. Now let's move to the second meeting.
Before you go on, I'd like to be excused. I'm having quite a bit of pain in my arm. I didn't think it would, my pills would hold up because I didn't know the length of the meeting. But I need to, I could get the information from Joan either tomorrow or next month or Monday.
Okay.
Okay? I mean, probably next month I won't have this problem, but this is the first time I've been let out of the cage.
No problem.
And so,
And we will, as we talk about the day finally, we are considering all the other activities that are going on.
and I welcome the other 2 board members. I'll see them at Thursday night, and that's not a real long meeting.
That's CIT.
Yeah. And Bill and Mr. Pinnabone, they almost look like Simonetti. He got bumped down there. So if you don't mind, I'd like to be too.
Thank you for being here. Have a good night. Take care.
Thanks.
Okay, second meeting. We start at 6:30, executive session. Sue's saying 6. I'm going to start executive session at 6. And we go then for the board meeting to start at 7. So that all works for everybody. We have our committees, we have our board meeting. We're not going to do any voting or anything at the first. It's only going to be the committee. Hash everything out. If it doesn't make it out of committee, we never hear about it at the board. It has to get out of committee first. Good? Moving on. Now the toughest question. When the dates were laid out here, most of these were the first Wednesday. Suggestion's going to be if we do first 2 meetings, we do the first and the third week. The next question would be, do we do a Tuesday? Do we do a Wednesday? I know from Don and John, a Tuesday works better for John than a Wednesday does. Bob, I know from a business point, a Tuesday works better. Other comments on the day of the week?
I would suggest that you listen to Dr. McGinley's comments about this, because I've talked to her a little bit. I think maybe you've heard the conversation. She has information that might be very useful to us about what day of the week.
But I think that the most important thing for all of us is attendance, so that we can make educated decisions about our students and also our district and community. One of the things that we had looked at was for the board purposes, we would have Monday and Tuesday to prepare any questions that the board would have. We would have a meeting on Wednesday after the board approved or needed further consultation with the board meeting. We would have Thursday and Friday to prepare what needed to be done. This is not just about a superintendent. It is about a board secretary, Joan Schaefer. It's about all of our administrators. So the only thing that I had asked to be cognizant of the time are our responsibilities to our students. Our faculty and our staff get up very early, and when our meetings are late, I think that we're being disrespectful to the board members, to our public, and also to our staff members. So I'd asked as early as we could start, and what we had looked at from an organizational point, Wednesday was the best day from the organizational part for our district. We had looked at different needs that our board members serve, and they're on different committees. And Wednesday was the best, except for the fourth Wednesday, because that's the ideal. So that's why we had chosen the first and the third. That was the reason.
Comments? Concerns? So are we Wednesday?
Mr. President, the first Tuesday of the month, I'm a secretary from another organization, and I'd have to,
She's looking at Wednesday.
I know,
No.
so that's a bad day for me. And then first Wednesday of the month is my union meeting, which I would have to miss. So if I could offer a suggestion, second and third Wednesdays. Second Wednesday of the month being the committee meeting, third Wednesday being the board meeting. That way there's not a whole lot of time between the committee and taking action on what the committee recommends.
It would be better with the third and the fourth. Just trying to think about too, as people look at vacations and everything, they try to get away. I know I do, even in between. And if you put it in such a fashion, you can't do that. And thinking about attendance. So, where's everybody else on these? Second, third, fourth. Huh?
Second and the fourth?
Second and fourth.
You want to separate that out?
It gives a little more time because if you end up with questions out of
We
committees.
can't do the fourth because of the IU.
The fourth Wednesday
Unless
is the
you do
idea.
the fourth as a Tuesday. That way I go back to back, try to make it easier for me to schedule.
So we would then look at the second week on a Wednesday and the fourth week on a Tuesday.
That solves it.
Everybody seemed to be okay. And the dates we're going to look at, and we will work to avoid, we're going to look around the Thanksgiving because we know we have issues there. So that may just be shifting, that may be one where we actually end up shifting the board meeting to the third because of Thanksgiving and all the events that go on around that holiday. And we'll probably look at the same thing for December. We'll decide if we even need a second meeting. That would be a month of it. So there'll be a couple exceptions to the rule. Does that work? So we'll put together the tentative schedule. We'll get it out. There's two ways of doing this. One is just put it out for January. The other is put it out for the entire year and then just adjust it a little bit afterwards. Either way, it's going to cost us additional funds if we have to re-advertise something to make an adjustment.
Unless we just cancel.
So, second
Make
week.
it up. We don't need that meeting.
Yeah. So second week is on a Wednesday. Fourth week is a Tuesday. Good? Okay. Let's. Do we need any motions on that? We just set the meetings and we're good. Everybody's okay with that, or feel uncomfortable or anything? Fine. I have one more item to ask. As we've gotten on, there's been a lot, and then we'll adjourn the meeting, go into executive session. The one other issue that's out on the floor is, in essence, taking a tour of the buildings. Let's understand what we have out there as we start to get into the budget, talking about buildings and grounds and things like that. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to somebody on this, but there's different people that have interests in different areas. And so I guess the question is everybody interested in going on a building tour? And spending, probably a few hours, facility to facility. We'll talk about how we'll get from facility to facility, and we'll also talk about the day. So, is everybody in for that?
Yes.
Okay. Knowing that, there's been a thought of maybe doing it on a Saturday. So, probably, could do it Saturday right before Christmas. I don't know. But probably the sooner the better. Maybe it should be like around the first Saturday in January. I'm just thinking about where we are here. We're in December. There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, we really are close to the holidays, and I don't know about you, but I know I ain't going to have things going on. If everybody wants to do another one, that's fine. But do we want to try to target maybe that first Saturday in January?
When's school resume after the winter break? Third?
Because that would then have us doing the building tours right before we have the committee meeting. Gentlemen, does that work? Tim?
Yes.
Mike?
Good.
Okay. We'll work on getting some times and everything and schedules together on how we would do the building tours. Okay. At this point, I'm going to...
Now, for board members, is that extra pay for extra duty?
So, at this point, I'll ask if there's any other items that we have to bring up. Is everything covered? I would then like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.